Hello, everyone. Good morning to Project Events Pittsburgh Demo Day X 2023. I'm going to show you real quickly here on the screen our schedule for today. So we have 7 teams pitching today, coming from 2 high schools in the Pittsburgh region. So we'll start with South Fayette High School, and then we'll also work with Monessen High School. But to start us off, we're going to watch a quick video here about Project Invent.
Hi, I'm Samhita.
My name is Maximilian Chavez.
My name is Carmelita Lee.
Our product for today is for children with autism because they find it extremely hard to identify their emotions and cope with stress.
We created the Beta Band, which is essentially a headband. It reads your beta waves, which fall in between a certain low and high beta wave. And if you're outside that range, then your brain is not acting as a normal brain.
Project Event has definitely impacted my sense of teamwork. I can collaborate a lot more with my peers, have that design thinking into mind. How can we target our users and have the best influence and the greatest impact on their lives?
Working and coding and doing all that stuff, it gave me a chance to be familiar so that I'm not as intimidated going into college. And it's actually made me a lot more excited for freshman year of college.
We've definitely opened our minds up a lot more, and we've learned how to cope with maybe our product not working and still learning from our mistakes.
Having interacted with people who are on the spectrum, young adults and little children, and seeing what they go through and understanding their experiences, and then being able to put that into a product, engineer something, and then see that truly affect them and help them.
A lot of people try and create products for people that they don't even they've never even talked to before. So we had a lot of things that we thought would be good, but after talking to people who actually use wheelchairs, they were we don't have problems with that. So it just you really should talk to people and get to know them before you make assumptions about things that they struggle with.
I think the impact has been huge, and it's changed my outlook towards project-based learning and education a lot, actually. The reason is because prior to Project Invent, I focused a lot on just developing technical skills and having the students learn laser cutting, 3D printing, soldering, sort of for the sake of learning 3D printing, laser cutting, and soldering. But working with Project Invent and anchoring these technical skills to a real-world problem has really, I think, made the learning experiences more meaningful for the students so that they understand what the application is, and has helped with retention and student involvement. It's been really great.
None of these girls came into this project thinking that they were inventors or makers, or that this kind of thing was something they even wanted to do. All of them, I believe, have been radically transformed just by this idea that the world is invented, right, and designed, and that they can participate in designing that world, right? I watched them gain confidence interviewing people, really understanding and delving into design thinking and human-centered design. I watched them struggle through prototyping and then succeed and feel really empowered by that. We have 4 women here who are ready to take on the world and change the world with the invention that they're making, and this is not something that they would have even considered doing in September of this year.
It's been really amazing being able to turn a problem into a solution just through engineering. And so I think Project Invent has taught me that anything that you see out in the world, if you think there's a way that you can fix it, it's totally doable, and that there are resources out there and people out there willing to support you throughout the journey.
This is bigger than just us.
All right, so hello once again. Welcome to Project Invent's Pittsburgh Demo Day X 2023. And I do apologize, but we are in school at this moment, and you may hear bells from time to time. Moving on, though, my name is Matthew Strine. I'm a Project Invent fellow here at Monessen High School, and I'll be your MC for today. Today, you'll be hearing pitches from teams of talented, innovative high school students from around the Pittsburgh region who have created inventions for social good. These students are incredible. Throughout this school year, they have built inventions from the ground up, the goal of helping solve problems in our society. These students are building the skills to save the world. They're doing so with the incredible support network and infrastructure of Project Invent, which empowers young people to innovate all year round. And today is connecting these impressive young people and the hard work they've done with deeply accomplished investors, executives, and visionaries across the tech industry. So a little bit about me before we get started. I'm a high school and middle school teacher these days after doing just about everything else in K-12 education previously. I teach high school computer science, business, robotics, and invention. I also teach middle school robotics, tool safety, and design thinking. My role today is simply to facilitate and keep things moving so you can hear from these amazing students and accomplished panelists. Now, before we meet our judges and hear the pitches, some logistics for today. This is a 2-hour event, but don't worry, you can grab a snack or take a break if you need to. When our pitches begin, each team of students will present a 5-minute pitch video followed by a 4-minute question and answer session with our panelists. At the end of the event, judges will deliberate and choose 3 teams to award today. While students present, there are a few ways to interact with the teams. Check out these features in Zoom. You can use reactions to cheer teams on, and you can use the chat to share words of encouragement. So why don't we test out the chat now by wishing all of our teams and students good luck. All right, it looks like we are good with the chat. I do, again, apologize. Finally, you're going to notice a link to donate to Project Invent. A little bit about Project Invent. They are a nonprofit organization, and the work that they do year-round to help these students ideate and incubate innovations for social good. And events like Demo Day today, connecting these students to industry professionals, are all made possible by donors like yourself. Project Invent is able to train teachers, run today's event, and support teams because of the generosity of our community. So please do consider donating. Now, without further ado, let's meet our judges. Our first panelist is Maria Campieri, Youth Services Manager at Southwestern Pennsylvania Bots IQ. A fun fact about Maria is that she loves outdoor activities. Her favorites are biking and paddleboarding. Welcome, Maria. In a quick sentence, what are you most excited about seeing from our students today?
I'm super excited to see what the new inventions are and the problems that the students are creatively solving with their prototypes.
All right, thank you so much, Maria. Thank you for joining us here today. Our second panelist is Scott Dietz. He is the Director of Workforce Development at Catalyst Connection. A fun fact is that he's been to 23 of the 30 Major League Baseball stadiums, and he's been to 42 of our 50 states. So welcome, Scott. In a quick sentence yourself, what are you most excited about seeing from our students today?
Thanks for having me, Matt. Always excited to see the thought process of how students arrived at their solutions and how they kind of worked through the challenges from a general idea to the final concept. So we'll be looking forward to seeing that thought process throughout the process here today.
All right, thanks so much, Scott. We're glad to have you as well. And our third panelist is Nate Broadus. He is the Workforce Specialist at Catalyst Connection. Fun fact about Nate is that he has written and self-published 5 comic books and an audio sci-fi drama. So welcome, Nate. In one quick sentence, what are you most excited about seeing from our students here today?
Well, I'm really excited to see all the ideas the young people come up with. They should all be super proud of themselves for having made it to this point. And everything that comes after this is just going to be icing on the cake.
All right, Nate, thank you so much for joining us as well. Students, now that you've met our panelists, it's time for the main event. So again, each team will have 5 minutes to pitch, and this will come in the form of a pre-recorded video each team created. Students and judges will then have 4 minutes for questions. A quick reminder to our amazing students before we begin. You have already done the hard work. You identified your problem to solve, you've designed and redesigned, and likely redesigned some more. You've interviewed users, you've spent dozens of hours coding and or building circuit boards, and so much more. So now is the time to celebrate your hard work, to show off what you've done, to advocate for your invention, to learn and grow with some of the best professionals in the industry. So take a deep breath, shake off those nerves, and let's have fun. Let's do this. Again, as it was mentioned before, I will keep a running timer during the Q&A, and I will let everyone know when your time is just about up. So our first pitch today is Maytic. They are from South Fayette High School in Pittsburgh, PA. Maytic is a sensory feedback makeup palette that empowers sight-challenged users to look and feel their best.
Hello everyone, I want you all to take a few seconds to try to memorize the colors you see in front of you. Now, can anyone tell me where the light pink shade was? See, the problem you're experiencing right now is something a visually impaired person struggles with each time they open a palette like this one here. This is because traditional makeup palettes are not designed with the needs of a blind user in mind, and there's no way to differentiate colors without relying on one sight. At Maytic, we want to change this. We want to empower visually impaired users to have the ability to wear and use makeup without the difficulties they face today. Hi, I'm Shreya.
And I'm Sejal, and we're the co-founders of Maytic. So let's take a trip back to the beginning of Maytic's journey when we met our friends Chloe and Darlene. Meet Chloe on the left. She's 20 years old, fully blind, and loves singing and music. On the right-hand side, meet Darlene. She's 15 years old with partial vision and loves to ride her bike. These two girls are similar to you and me. They have hobbies, they have interests, but they felt that wearing makeup was something that they would never have the chance to do. Darlene, who has partial vision, told us that I can't ask someone to put makeup on me every day, and I can't do it myself. It sucks that I don't have a choice. Our conversation became the catalyst for the creation of Maytic.
Now, this issue of accessibility extends beyond Chloe and Darlene. There are many influencers today who are on a mission to advocate for blind accessibility. A blind YouTuber named Molly Burke uses her platform of 1.8 million followers to advocate for accessible beauty products. She highlights the various issues that lie in traditional products that make it difficult for a blind user to navigate. Currently, within the industry, only a few brands, such as L'Occitane, Urban Decay, and Wamisa, have begun taking steps toward accessibility, specifically by implementing Braille. You might be wondering, what's the issue with Braille? The issue lies in that there's only 10% of the blind population can actually read Braille, further marginalizing an already marginalized community.
So this is a depiction of a traditional makeup palette that you might find at drugstores. So let's break down what problems a visually impaired user might face. These palettes contain an array of colors that might look pleasing to the eye of a sighted user, but can actually be very confusing for someone with little to no vision. Also, there's quite a close proximity of the colors, which makes it difficult for non-sighted users to place their brush on the right shade. And the biggest issue is that they have no way to differentiate the colors other than relying on their sense of sight. And this is what Maytic changes using technology.
Introducing Maytic, an accessible makeup palette that uses audio and vibrational feedback to alert users of what color they're using. When a user puts their brush or finger on a shade, the speaker would emit the shade's name, and the vibration motor would release a variation pattern that corresponds with the shade's color and intensity. Using this, Maytic gives visually impaired users back their independence and gives them a sense of belonging within the makeup space.
To test the efficacy of our Maytic palette, we've held multiple user testing sessions through expos, conferences, and competitions, where more than 1,200 users were able to try out our palette.
Taking the positive responses and feedback, we are now reiterating the design in our beta testing phase. We are also in the process of implementing the speaker output within our design.
We have future improvement plans. For example, we want to add a speaker so that when a user presses a color, the speaker would say the color's name. Also, we want to add a Bluetooth brush so that the haptics would be felt directly from the brush instead of from the haptic motor.
Additionally, our palette is currently bulky due to the many electronics in it, so we want to reduce the form factor of the palette to make it more user-friendly. Additionally, we want to obtain a patent for our palette to take it to the next level, and these are our goals and vision for the future of Maytic.
At Maytic, we see makeup as a form of artistic expression and individuality, and we are on a mission to give millions of others like Chloe and Darlene the chance to express themselves through makeup. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Maytic from South Fayette High School once again. Judges, we open it up to you now to ask questions, and I will again let you know when the 4 minutes is wrapping up.
I'm curious what market research you did to see if there's any similar related solutions in the marketplace. And then also, you know, any feedback from the users themselves that you want to share additionally from what you shared in your video.
Yeah, so definitely regarding market research, before we began building our prototype, we looked at what existing products already were there, and many brands don't really include any blind inclusive makeup products, and the ones that do specifically implement Braille. And as we mentioned in the video, Braille, only 10% of the blind population can read Braille. So that further marginalizes an already marginalized community. So we wanted to expand beyond that and create a product that not only someone who can read Braille, but anybody can use. That way it's accessible to all.
And then in terms of feedback, we actually have had multiple user testing sessions with our community partners. And I think the biggest thing that they said was that blindness is a spectrum. And while we just think about blindness as being fully blind, we also have to consider that there might be people who are partially blind, and they might not like the haptic feedback as much as others. So for example, Darlene is partially blind, and for her, she has a sense of color. So she understands like, okay, this is red, this is yellow. For her, she just needed a method of differentiation because the only way she can really see color if it's held like really close to her eyes. So for her, she was thinking about if you press the color, instead of sending out a haptic feedback, it should actually say the name of the color. So we took that feedback into account, and now we're implementing that into our design.
All right, cool. So I think I raised my hand right before Maria did. So first of all, you guys did an amazing job. You should both be very proud of yourselves. But I was just wondering if you could share with us, what was the hardest part of your project? What were your challenges?
I think we would both agree the biggest thing that we faced was building the physical prototype. We had conceptualized it a lot earlier, but when we went to build it, we learned that we didn't have a lot of electrical knowledge. And so we reached out to our resources. Mr. Hausman, our advisor, connected us with an electrical engineer. And we also asked our fellow seniors and peers for help, and that definitely helped us face that obstacle because initially we just had no clue about electrical knowledge.
Go ahead, Maria.
Okay, sorry, I had to unmute myself. So my question kind of builds off of what Nate just asked. So what type of technical processes did you use to create your prototype?
I think we've mainly worked with breadboards, Arduinos. We're looking to scale up and use PCBs, but that's kind of like next level stuff. So to answer your question, so far we've used a lot of Python coding in our Arduino. We used wires, breadboards, resistors, which honestly took like a lot of self-learning from us, but we're glad that we finally have made it happen.
Okay, I have one more question.
We have about 30 seconds left.
How did you manage your team's responsibilities? Did you divide and conquer? How did you approach that? Thanks, Matt.
So because it's just us two on the team, a lot of the responsibilities were not just like divided, but also shared at the same time. So because it was the two of us, we used to hold each other accountable, and we used to learn from each other. So she did a part, then I would check on it. And if I did a part, she would check on it. And it was more collaborative. It wasn't like divide and conquer. But I think our like small team size made that happen much more efficiently.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Matic. We really enjoyed your video. We are going to move on now to our second pitch video. So let me go back to sharing my screen. So our second pitch is Team One Last Hope from Monessen High School in Monessen, PA. One Last Hope is a locket that you wear on a chain that could save your life.
Hi, this is our project event team, One Last Hope, and I'm Jameer.
I'm Tyler. I'm Darius. And I'm Gage. Just to let y'all know before we get started, our presentation has sensitive content in it, so if you have any children or kids by, please make sure there's a parent with them as they watch. This is our community partner. Her name's Hallie. We met her through our teacher, Tsunami, which is a national alliance of mental illness. And we met her on a Zoom call a couple times, maybe like a couple times. And then she ended up coming into our class and we ended up talking to her in person.
Hallie, a mental health advocate, needs a way to help others with mental illnesses stay connected and allow them to stay safe.
This is our solution. Okay. We made a locket because Lindsay threw her phone out the window before she went and committed suicide. So we had to innovate in the locket. These are our competitors. We're One Last Hope. There's also Lizardware and Life 360 app. But ours, it doesn't call automatically out and reach out to emergency personnel. But it doesn't need a cell phone or internet connection for it to work. And also, it comforts the distressed individual as well.
These are our features. Feature 1 is a general locket with 2 sides, and it can store images of loved ones. Feature 2, we got 2 button options for recording and playing sound, and you can record for up to 120 seconds. Our feature 3, it has LED lights, and it will light up when a play button is pressed.
Here are our quotes, Hallie's quotes. Connecting with people is one effective way to prevent suicide. We all believe that suicide is a preventable tragedy, and we all have a role to play in this prevention. And what we have is recording is a lot for personal use, so you're able to record any messages that you need. And if you need to be reminded for a grocery list or something, it could also be used for that too. Also, with the locket, whenever it goes around your neck, we are making a add-on that will alleviate stress through vibration. As our next steps, we are moving forward with working with Intervala to create a smaller chip for the locket. So step 2 is work with a jeweler to make it feasible with producing and selling the chain as an add-on accessory. We want to promote the locket on all of our social media platforms, Instagram and TikTok, and make mental health more aware. We want to form a partnership with the psychologists and psychiatrist groups, as well as medical insurance providers.
If you or someone you know is experiencing a crisis or are thinking about committing suicide, please call 988 as soon as possible.
And this is our pitch. We all likely heard the phrase before, I fall and I can't get up. Life Alert has been solving that problem for years now, but how would we respond to this phrase?
I'm broken and I can't go on.
Death by suicide is the 12th leading cause of death in this country.
All too often we see stories on the news about actors, actresses, athletes, and musicians who seem to be fine to the general public but ended up taking their own lives.
So how do we help a problem that's invisible but yet so common?
How do we tame the silent problem before it is too late for the next victim, a victim of oneself?
We think we can help you both.
We give you One Last Hope.
One Last Hope is intended to be a multi-purpose locket that you would wear on your chain.
Like most lockets, you can open it up, see pictures of loved ones who want to see you as well.
But unlike most lockets, this one has some electronic features as well.
When the emergency button on the back is pressed, it will give you a reminder to call 988, the newly appointed suicide and crisis hotline. The button is on the back to play the sound.
Also, when the button is pressed, an LED light will come on, making the top of the locket appear to glow, as this is meant to indicate that the person is in distress.
When individuals with mental illness are not feeling well, they might not be thinking straight or able to voice their concerns to another person.
So much stigma still exists today about living with a mental illness, but One Last Hope is intended to be just that, one last hope. The individual will rethink hurting themselves.
We would like to acknowledge as well that we worked with a close friend of someone who died by suicide to get their input with our various iterations of the locket along the way. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, team One Last Hope. We are going to turn it over to our judges to now ask you some questions.
So, first of all, fellas, great job. This is really, really great product. So what was the hardest part of working on this or working on this project, both technically and emotionally?
Technically, probably just getting a board to fit inside of the locket, because we're trying to have something that's like small and like mobile to use. And like mentally, like all of us here have been affected by like mental health or suicide in one way or another. So we just want to live up to what we can do with this invention.
Thank you.
Does the I'm still trying to get my head around, I guess, the product, is it basically it doesn't communicate outwardly, but it communicates to the individual to give them a sense of a pause moment or a self-reflection. Is that accurate, or can you dig into that a little bit deeper?
Okay. So what it's able to do is there are two buttons, one for recording and one for playing the audio. And what it will do is whenever you press this button, audio will play, and it'll tell you a message from your whatever, like family or friends, to rethink your decisions. Yeah, like rethink your decisions. And we're going to make it where it'll call the National Crisis Hotline 988, and yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got also tell them that the LED light, when it light up, that's how you can tell the person's in distress as well.
Okay.
All right, we have time for probably one more more question.
Great. So I have, my question is, did you, and if so, what skill did you need to learn to build your prototype and get to your final product?
It was definitely with all the like technical work, like with the soldering and putting it all together and trying to find out which wires go to which, and like and like trying to find out how to use the 3D printer and like connect it all together pretty much. Like and make room for all of the components and everything inside of it. Pretty much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah, thank you, team. One last hope. We will move on here. So let me go back to my other screen. So our third pitch is from Elevation X, once again from South Fayette High School here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Elevation X is an automated locking cabinet system that utilizes scissor lift technology.
I'm Jackson Garrett.
And I'm Brian Trevorage, and we're Elevation X.
Here are our other two group members who are going to be in this video today, Tim and Ishan. And here's us.
Our problem. 68% of the elderly people in the United States suffer from back problems. This brings up the difficulty of reaching high places. Our community partner gave us this quote: "I miss being able to do everyday things without the worry of pain." Our community partner. His name is Doug Seegert. I met him at church, and he always talks about how his back hurts him. Another quote he gave us is, "Suffering every day because of my back problems. It's very hard to maintain my everyday tasks." What are we making? Our original product was going to be a mat with water inside that would stop ice from forming on the outside, causing no one to slip. This was our aha moment when we decided to make a cabinet shelf system.
We decided to shift because Doug talking about his back problems made us realize that it was more important to focus on his problems instead of a wide solution. We decided on an automatic scissor lift that would lift up into 3 different cabinets and lock into place. Our weight limit is going to be 150 pounds, and we're going to use buttons to lift it up and down. Our solution and features. A locking feature is going to be implemented later on, and the scissor lift will lock into place, making a functional cabinet. It will also keep the things in the cabinet and also take them down whenever the elderly person needs them. Past prototype. Our past prototype was made out of Vex Robotics. It was very durable. The problem was it would buckle and move every single time it was lifted up. It also wasn't very smooth in motion. When it's trying to stand on its weight, it would teeter to the left and right. Also, like how it would go up, it would also tilt left and right. But main pros was it was Vex, durable, and also you could implement automatic Vex solutions very easily.
Our current prototype. Our current prototype is made of popsicle sticks, tape, hot glue, and nails. This current prototype is better than our old one because it's more durable, it's more steady, and it's cheaper to make. Plus, it's able to be integrated with the Arduino well. This is the demo.
This was our aha moment. Competitors. We really don't have any major competitors in this field. We're revolutionizing it, basically. A main competitor that's similar to us but not really identical is a non-automatic lift system. So basically your cabinet would be at the top and you could pull it down to you, but you still have to lift up, which is, I think, a problem with it, and I think that is going to help us with our scissor lift because it will lift up and down without having someone to pull it down. Another very similar thing that's not identical is a hidden TV system that would be in like the middle of your living room. This would, you hit a button and the TV would lift out of a giant box in the middle of your thing, but that's more for design and kind of being modern, not really for functionality purposes like ours is.
Our budget. Our overall cost is $105 per unit. Our materials cost is $56. Our labor cost is $28.75 an hour. Our facility costs about $40 a day, and our markup's about $29.
These are all changes and variables that will change in the future. Next steps. Our next steps are really to improve the actual scissor lift and also to integrate it into a cabinet system. We're going to be changing the popsicle sticks out for more solid metal, and also we're trying to make it more flexible. Right now, the weight limit is not where we want it to be. It's like 20 pounds, and if that. And we're going to try to make it 150 pounds so it can lift basically anything you want in the kitchen space up and down. We also want to not just keep it in the kitchen. We also maybe want to revolutionize it and put it into a garage. So maybe you can have a workbench that goes up and down and take things from high to low spaces so you can have more space. That is basically our next steps. Experience the enhanced power of Elevation X, pushing you higher with every button. Any questions?
All right, Elevation X, thank you so much. We will turn it over to our judges so they can ask some questions.
What was your most difficult part of the design process?
I'd say the most difficult part was finding the right materials, because at first we decided to choose Vex, but it wasn't working out. It was tipping over. So then we tried to go to like a material that would stand up better, and the popsicle sticks worked a lot better, and we were able to move up and down without having any problems.
I'm curious about the feedback loop with the gentleman that you were talking about, or others that you might have back issues or physical challenges. What additional feedback loops did you put into your process?
At first, our community project member was, we didn't really like what we first had with we had like a mat that basically heat up and like melt snow. He didn't really think that was that good of an idea. But when we started talking about our other ideas that we were thinking of, he was really into our like cabinet system, because he struggled a lot with that. So then we started putting more into that. And then the more we kept coming up with more products, the more he started to like it. And then he really just steered toward the scissor lift, which kind of made us like put all of our efforts into designing like a good one for him.
So if you guys could do this again, but from the beginning, what would you guys do different?
Most likely we'd just be trying to steer towards an actual like system that works for our community project member, not just trying to come up with an idea that's new. Because at first we were thinking the mat idea, which was kind of new. We didn't really see anything that was similar to that. But then we started to go towards what our actual community project needs. Like he needs things that help his back, things that help like lifting up and down. And that was kind of like our focus. That's where it like shifted.
Well, thank you.
We still have about a minute and a half for any additional questions.
I'm curious about your market research as far as like, when you looked at other products that are in this, assistive devices, what was your process for doing research on similar products or products in related categories?
Well, we looked at the company JLG and Genie Lift. They both had like similar scissor lifts. So we used that to make kind of like our scissor lift base design, which helped us to be able to come up with our current prototype.
We were also searching just like automatic cabinet systems and just like comparing what we had and what other people were doing. We couldn't really find a lot of automatic cabinet systems. It was really just things that weren't for the kitchen space or the garage spaces, mainly for like kind of entertainment or just like looking modern. It was for looks primarily, but ours is just gonna be focused on like helping people.
Have you gotten any feedback from the gentleman from your church?
Yeah, we did. It was just mainly positive feedback. It was just talking about how that he liked the scissor lift idea and he liked how it's going to be implemented. But he had a lot of questions about like how it's going to be implemented and like the cost of it, and if it was going to be like a big deal or like a small thing, and like who's going to actually put it into the cabinet system. But that's all things that we're going to try to like work towards and build upon.
Cool. Thank you.
Does your prototype only move vertically or does it also move horizontally?
It can only move vertically, but we plan on making automatic by using the IR remote and IR sensor to for in an Arduino to and a DC motor to move it up and down.
All right, thank you very much, Team Elevation X. We are going to move on with our next group here. So let me go back to my screen. Our fourth pitch, once again from South Fayette High School in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, is Team Sucra. Sucra is a microneedle patch technology that uses interstitial fluids to help type 2 diabetics painlessly identify and control sugar cravings.
Hello everyone, we are Team Sucra. I'm Meet.
And I'm Twisha.
And our other team members include Shrishti and Ria. When you think about the word diabetes, one of the first thoughts that comes to mind is how much of a struggle it is to manage, from injecting insulin to checking blood sugar. This is our community partner, Prachi Raze, and all of this is a daily reality for her. She's a type 2 diabetic who has voiced that her biggest struggle was differentiating between hunger pangs and high blood sugar, two states that require completely different approaches to handle. She has to make smart food choices every day, being mindful of her sugar level to decide what is good for her to consume. One of the biggest realizations we had was when she told us that pricking her finger to measure blood sugar was incredibly inconvenient for her. We found that the thought of drawing blood deters many diabetics from measuring the sugar levels as frequently as they should, something that is incredibly dangerous for type 2 diabetics like Mrs. Rajay, who also happens to be my mother.
And so this is our solution. Sucra, a microneedle technology that uses interstitial fluids directly beneath the skin instead of blood to help type 2 diabetics painlessly identify and control their sugar cravings. Now you may be wondering, what are interstitial fluids? Interstitial fluids are found right beneath the skin in the space between skin cells and capillaries deeper down. Otherwise known as ISF, these fluids are just as effective in measuring glucose levels as blood. And since needles do not have to go down as deep to collect them, this method is completely painless. This is our current prototype. It consists of a large microneedle patch on an adjustable armband, and we still have to attach an Arduino and mini breadboard, but we are 3D printing a covering case after consulting our community partner. This is a sketch of what we imagine the final product to look like. It will use a large disposable microneedle patch on the arm to painlessly collect ISF. The product will only be used when necessary and does not have to be worn all the time for the convenience of the user. The potential biochemical sensor will read the ISF and send relevant data to the chip represented by the Arduino. The vibration motor on the device will vibrate once, twice, or thrice, correlating with either a low, normal, or high glucose level and letting the user know if they're experiencing sugar cravings due to high sugar levels or just regular hunger.
Looking at the cost of the materials, a large fraction of the total is represented by the Arduino, and the rest covered by other smaller materials. Our total materials cost comes to a total of $42.11, with our markup is $28, which brings the total cost of the product to be $70.11. We are able to mark up our product by 40% since medical technologies like these are often subsidized by the government. The cost of the appropriate sensor will also be considered in the final markup. But you may be wondering, aren't there solutions already in the market for this problem? The answer is yes. The current solution for this problem is the Freestyle Libre 2, which uses similar technology to measure glucose levels with a microneedle.
However, there are multiple reasons why our community partner prefers Sucre over the Freestyle Libre 2. For one, the Freestyle Libre can only be used for 14 days, but every purchase of Sucre comes with 50 disposable microneedle patches, assuming that each user will test their glucose levels 2 to 3 times per day. Every purchase has enough patches to last at least 17 days. Additionally, unlike the Freestyle Libre, our product remains usable for longer and is over $40 cheaper. Most importantly, most continuous glucose monitoring systems do not have a focus on actually identifying sugar cravings. Our product is able to measure glucose levels while managing their implications as well.
For our next steps, we hope to make the product more sustainable by experimenting with different environmentally friendly materials for the disposable patch. We will also try to reduce the bulk of the device by possibly replacing the Arduino with a fully soldered chip to cause the vibrations. We also want to develop an app with Bluetooth connection for users to see glucose readings and patterns in real time. The app would also be personalized to provide the user with advice for their particular cravings.
This project started with a focus on our loved ones, and we love our pets too. We have discovered that there's no straightforward way for diabetic animals such as dogs and cats to measure their blood sugar. So we hope to extend this technology to pets to also help them measure their glucose levels painlessly. This assures that we can keep all our loved ones healthy, pets and humans. Sucra, a small-scale treatment for a large-scale problem. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Team Sucra. We will pass it over to our judges once again so they can ask you some questions.
My first question is, what did you learn in this process, not only about the condition of diabetes, but also about the design process?
So one of the main things that we had to focus on, in addition to actually making our prototype, was the research that went into it. So we had to do a lot of research about what diabetics, especially type 2 diabetics like Mrs. Rajde, go through on a daily basis, and also some of the methods that are out there that are painless. So we had to look into our competitors and take that into account for our final.
Did you actually have a prototype that your teammate's mother tested?
Yeah, we did use this prototype to test it out.
And what was her feedback?
So she especially liked that this wasn't something that had to be worn all the time. So she really wanted something that is disposable and could be used only when needed. So when she was feeling the particular symptoms of sugar cravings, so she liked that she could just put it on whenever she wanted and then take it off when it was unneeded.
I don't think I have a question. Great job, guys. But I do want to say that, I think that it would be really beneficial to lead more and talk a little bit more about the prototype and the experience with the prototype. Like, I think that's really important feedback. But other than that, great job.
So it seems to me, I mean, just based on your presentation, that this may be a reiteration of an existing product or a new version with different features. Is that an accurate way to describe your product?
Yes, it is quite similar to previous products, but most products you have to keep on the arm at all times, and we just wanted to change it by only putting it on when the user is having a sugar craving.
Scott, I think you're still on mute.
I know, I didn't realize that. What would you do differently in your approach to this project?
We would probably start by getting more of a background in the programming that's needed and try to find biochemical sensors that could actually do the job right. Because one of the biggest struggles that we had was finding chips and biochemical sensors that would actually measure the interstitial fluids. So that's why we had to start with a proof of concept rather than actually dive into what would make the product work.
We have about a minute left for additional questions.
Do you think your product could help someone that has a need to lose a large amount of weight? What are your thoughts there in your product being used for obesity?
The interstitial fluids basically have glucose levels, which is why this product would be mainly beneficial for diabetics because they need their glucose levels checked. So we can definitely check, do more research on that and see if our product can help people with obesity.
Okay.
We're all so quiet.
I know,
Talk
sorry.
about an awkward pause there.
Well, thank you, judges, for all your questions. We'll go ahead and move on with our next group here. And again, thank you, Team Sucre. All right, our fifth pitch is Time Watchers, again from South Fayette High School. The Time Remind is a device that will help people with their time management by displaying the time and setting off a vibration with lights to remind them of a task that needs to be done.
Good morning. We are the Time Watchers. I'm Emma of Dodgic.
And I'm Nikhil Prasad.
We worked with Mary's Place, which is a maternity home for women with younger children or that are pregnant. We directly work with Kelly Manis, who's the executive director of Mary's Place. And some of their problems they were struggling with is their motivation, their organization, and time management.
So our solutions to these problems was the Time Remind watch. So the watch consists currently of an Arduino screen, LED ring, my controller, and wires to put all together. So the idea behind the watch is that the LED ring can function as a time display, or it could be a Pomodoro timer to show how much time you have left to do the task or how much time you have till the end of the task period. The Arduino screen is there to help with displaying the task you have to do and the current task. It can also display the time if the LED ring is currently a Pomodoro timer. And this functions all because it's a microcontroller.
Our original idea or our thought process through our prototype was to have a hole on the side of our watch that would be used for our charger as seen here. We had an idea of having an app that we were hoping to call the Remind Time. We hope that this app will be used so they can put their alarms in times they want the time remind to go off. And then we have the front with the LEDs and the time, and then the back, which is explained here. We were hoping to have a detachable watch band, as seen here. We came up with the idea of doing a magnet. That didn't work too well for us, so we moved on to this. We didn't get to finish this in our full-on prototype, as seen here, but we are still hoping to go back at this in the future. We wanted to have a watch stand to make it portable, but this is another thing that we weren't really able to figure out to do.
On a 3D print, right here.
On our 3D print.
So next steps, we plan to develop icons for the task. So some basic ones like eating, sleeping, doing the laundry, chores, and we also plan to try to synchronize the watch with an app so you can program it. So you can have a list of tasks to do that day, or you can make a routine out of it. And also this will send feedback to the app to tell if you're on time or not. And this can be improved with functionality like buttons. So you can click a button to tell when you're done with the task so that the watch can actually track how well you're doing with time management. And this is based off the quote, visuals would be a great addition. I think that this is very valuable for inspiration because at Mary's Place, they tend to try to represent progress through visuals. And I think that if we add this to the watch, it could help other people so people get a sense of progress as they go along.
Some of our competitors that we have are alarm clocks and Apple Watch, but the Time Remind is portable as their alarm clock is not. The Time Remind has sounds and vibrations, as yes, all the other ones do, but the Time Remind is affordable, as seen here. The manufacturing for the Time Remind is $50.34, coming from our packaging and shipping, material costs, and our labor.
So we plan to sell the Time Remind for $70, so it's about a $16 markup, or $19 markup. We do plan to add accessories so you can personalize it for yourself, and we also think that the Time Remind can be applied to everyone who's struggling with time management problems, which is quite a few people currently.
One of the quotes that came from the Mary's Place that we really thought hit our heart was, "We strive to empower the woman with stability and independence while promoting the inherent dignity of both mother and child." We thought this was a really meaningful quote that we wanted to make the Time Remind for. And don't you forget, the timer mind is the fashionable way to stay on time every time. Thank you.
I wanted to just get some.
Oh,
go ahead, Matt.
No, you already got it. You go ahead. You're good.
We're in the routine now, Matt. We got this. I wanted to start off with just some clarification on the root problem you're trying to address. Is it time management generally, or is there a specific, challenge that these individuals through this community organization you identified that you were trying to address?
So the problems they have with time management vary depending on the person, but usually what they found was just getting the person to wake up in the morning and do simple things like eating breakfast at a certain time was difficult. So we just kind of designed our watch to be general purpose when it comes to time management, nothing specific, like doing a certain task.
I'm wondering about the feedback loop, how you vetted this idea with this audience, but then also how you throughout the process went back to that audience to continue to get feedback if you did so.
So unfortunately, we could not really get much feedback from our community partner because of scheduling conflicts, and we weren't able to meet with any of the individuals at Mary's place. But we did check in a couple times with design. They like the fact that it's mostly visual to show time management, and they do like the idea of it being wearable, and you can, well, like we said, we wanted to make a stand for it so they can set it up on a desk or something, so it's always there.
So in testing out the different parts and bands and the other technical pieces, what was the hardest part about actually putting the watch together?
I'd say the hardest part is just getting everything to fit inside 45 centimeters. It's a pretty small object. I have never built something so small, so designing that was a challenge. I had to make sure the dimensions of the parts I was buying would fit all together. And I also had to be mindful of other components like wires, how much space that would take, because I did not expect that to be a major space taker in design.
Did you actually test out your prototype?
We didn't get to test it out on any of the people from Mary's place, but we tested them ourselves, and we were improving the actual casing to make it more comfortable, because what we found was the edges would be jagged and it would kind of cut into you. Currently, we don't have the band on, we just have the actual watch itself, but.
And what design, did you use any like computer designing programs to come up with your final design to print?
So the casing was designed in Onshape, which is a kind of a browser version of CAD. And
sure.
Programmed the display itself with Arduino using various libraries that were pre-existing. And that's about it for making the actual design of the watch. And besides that, it was mostly just using tools like soldering to put it all together. And we also used a 3D printer to actually make the casing.
What would you do differently in your approach to the project and or your outcomes?
I feel like we would get more feedback from our community partner, and then also just maybe work more with like the screen and more visual stuff.
Yeah, we weren't able to exactly figure that out by this day, but it's something we're planning on working on in the future.
So I may have a difficult question. Why do you feel like your project is a better option than using a current product that's already out on in the marketplace?
So I looked into other.
Basically, our project is mostly used for time management. Like most smartwatches have other ways in which you can find yourself getting distracted, and alarm clocks while they basically do the same things, they aren't quite as portable. So basically, this is for like those people who really want to improve themselves and like eliminate all distractions. You can buy this also quite cheaper than most smartwatches out on the market, and then simply use this a product and improve yourself and manage your time better.
Another thing is that most other smartwatches focus on fitness, not time management. And from the Pomodoro timers I've seen on their apps, it's mostly something you just set, not something that's already there as a routine. And they don't really focus on tasks. It's more like reminders that pop up and not a really time management focused tool. So that's what our solution's mostly focusing on.
Sorry, I found it funny that an alarm went off right when you were talking about time management and setting alarms.
Yeah.
Wait about 30 seconds.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you again, Team Time Watchers. We'll move on to our next video. So our sixth pitch is from NeuroStride. They are once again from South Fayette High School. NeuroStride harnesses the power of machine learning to restore safety and confidence to those affected by drop foot from MS.
Hi judges, my name is Veer Senthil, and today I'm here to present to you our project, NeuroStrud, with Preetam Jakalkar, Aryan Sahu, and Anuva Gaskalkar. When we first met our community partner, Mrs. Tiffany Vetter, we were instantly intrigued by her love for nature, Star Wars, vacationing, not to mention her unwavering work ethic. However, her hobbies and lifestyle were hindered by relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis, a medical condition accompanied by a wide range of symptoms ranging from fatigue, numbness, incoordination, and most notably, drop foot. Unable to walk and hike the way she used to, we were inspired to address drop foot and its serious consequences and limits on her daily life. Drop foot occurs when the muscles that lift the front part of the foot become weak or paralyzed, making it difficult to walk without tripping or stumbling. These symptoms not only increase the risk of injurious falls, but also lead to social isolation and a reduced ability to participate in daily activities. With 1 out of 2 people with MS risking serious falls and 1 out of 4 facing recurring injuries, we were driven to create a product that will help Mrs. Vetter and others live life to its fullest by addressing drop foot in a way that is not only medically viable, but also comfortable and convenient to the wearer, allowing her to get back to what she loves most.
Following extensive research and collaboration with Mrs. Vetter, we developed a 3D CAD design for our product, NeuroStride. Our design aims to enhance mobility for individuals like Mrs. Vetter who are affected by conditions such as drop foot due to multiple sclerosis, and implemented much of the feedback we received in order to develop a sleek, inconspicuous leg sleeve to stimulate dorsiflexion and decrease the chance for falls. The NeuroStride sleeve offers treatment for drop foot at a reasonable price point while remaining comfortable and adaptable for every individual. Through the implementation of machine learning algorithms, the NeuroStride is able to learn a person's gait and predict when they will enter a dorsiflex position, firing a signal to the peroneal nerve to lift the foot and plant firmly on the ground, avoiding dragging and other harmful situations that can arise from drop foot. The NeuroStride works by utilizing Python and a Raspberry Pi to stimulate the peroneal nerve. The sensor on the Pi returns pertinent information regarding the position of the knee and the speed at which the user is walking through an onboard gyrometer and accelerometer. Using the sensor information, we will use Python to train a machine learning algorithm on mock walking data collected from various individuals to account for differences in gait, stride, and terrain. Such an algorithm is capable of predicting the precise moment at which the Pi needs to fire and send out a signal to the peroneal nerve to activate dorsiflexion in the ankle joint and plant the foot firmly, even if the wearer of the sleeve does not do so automatically due to drop foot or another condition. This signal is sent through a relay hat on the Pi and wired through an EMS unit, which is capable of delivering control shocks through electrodes to nerves in the human body.
Other solutions that currently exist for alleviating drop foot include dynamic drop foot braces and functional electric stimulation devices that similarly shock nerves to correct a person's gait. However, both are incredibly flawed in their own right and fail to adequately address the issue at hand. Compared to the drop foot brace and walk aid, NeuroStride is far cheaper, far lighter, and is individually catered to each user. NeuroStride utilizes machine learning to adapt to the user's walking pattern and to provide better personal care for them. On the other hand, walk aid utilizes constant electric stimulations, unable to adjust to a specific walking pattern, and the brace only provides minimal support. Assuming $15 of labor and $10 of overhead, the current design costs $90 for all materials when not purchasing in bulk. Even with the expensive Raspberry Pi hardware and $35 of markup, the NeuroStride comes in at under $150, a significantly lower price than other FES bands while remaining far more effective and durable than ordinary braces. Furthermore, as we shift toward more individualized hardware chips and smaller sensors, we will be able to reduce the price of the material significantly and hopefully reduce the total cost to under $100.
While we currently have a three-dimensional CAD model of the NeuroStride, we hope to design and develop a working prototype by May and improve on the design through controlled trials in the summer before ultimately going out to market, publicizing the NeuroStride in mid-August. Our long-term goals involve us shifting to a smaller and less expensive form of our hardware and gaining the medical clearances needed for the NeuroStride to officially begin sales and change the lives of people with multiple sclerosis. In a better world, we hope that people like Mrs. Vedder can prevent any physical ailments from defining their goals and dreams. With the help of inventions like the NeuroStride that present cost-effective solutions that can adapt to any user, we hope to overcome the limitations of the most highly specialized medical devices today that often restrict the movement and access of what people love the most. Everyone deserves a chance to swim, hike, climb, and hit the ground walking, which is exactly what we hope to accomplish with the NeuroStride. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, NeuroStride. On to our judges.
What's the size? What's the size of the market need for a product such as this?
In terms of market size, it doesn't affect just multiple sclerosis. It's really anybody who either doesn't have the peroneal nerve firing for some reason, whether burn damage or just a different type of medical condition that involves the degradation of nerves. And also just anybody who finds like difficulty walking. So like even in like the elderly, oftentimes you will find that some of their nerves don't fire as well as they used to. So when you go in and automatically stimulate it with like an external device like ours, then they'll be able to walk better and maybe not have to use a cane or a walking aid that maybe like even psychologically gonna help them feel a lot better.
So you can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that a lot of the things that you needed to know to make this happen aren't things that the average high schooler knows. So how much research and, how much research did you guys have to do going into this? And then how much prior knowledge did you have is not only with the development, but also the production and the assembly of the parts?
Yeah, there was a lot of research and collaboration that was involved in making this project. We spent a lot of time together brainstorming possible solutions and also researching current and existing solutions on the market. And also the technology involved was the great learning curve, especially the machine learning aspect and the intelligent machine. So by using collaboration and our mentor, Mr. Alisman, provided us a lot of guidance, we were able to overcome a lot of barriers throughout the process.
Yeah, and a lot of technology we use isn't extremely like fleshed out right now. Like even the idea of shocking a nerve to help someone move better, it's more of like a research paper type of technology that we're trying to bring into the real world. And that's why most of our competitors are like extremely customized to a certain individual and still in like a lot of them are still in trials or cost like ridiculous amounts of money. So we're trying to mainstream that using machine learning so that we can adapt to each person wearing it without having to actually individually go in and spend that same amount of time to get the same effect.
On that same note, I think that all of us have experience in different projects with computer science or robotics or something like that. What was different to us was adding a human aspect to it almost, making sure that this would work well with someone who was wearing it like at the moment and making sure that it would be comfortable. So that was definitely a learning curve as well, making sure it was user friendly.
Thank you.
So forgive me if I'm incorrect in saying this. I loved your comparison chart of the products that are currently on the market. What's the price point of the other couple products that you shared with us compared to yours?
I mean, compared to ours, like, $100 to $200 higher. I think the braces are like 250, starting at 250. Like the bigger braces are starting at 400. So I feel like our products get like a significantly lower standpoint at a price. I mean, significantly lower price point. So I think it makes us really competitive in that sense, because we don't want people spending lots of money on these products, because we want to be viable for them, and we also interchange them easily.
Also,
Yeah.
while we were researching the market, a lot of the products existing were pretty experimental and not fully fleshed out. So that caused a higher cost because of the personalization involved with those products. So by creating a more mainstream product, we hope to reduce costs so it's more viable for people of all walks of life.
Yeah, on the note of being mainstream, part of the problem that we have right now is buying in bulk almost, or being able to secure products that work in one very specific instance or do a very specific task. But if we can, as we continue to prototype, we realistically can start to generalize some of the products that we use, some of the technology in it, to make sure we can buy it in bulk and have accessible ways to get to it at all times. And that's definitely helped a lot for us to realize what the price point could be like.
Yeah, and currently we do now have a working prototype. If you can see, this is the actual brace. Then we have a Raspberry Pi, and this is the sensor on top, the TENS unit that's able to actually deliver the shock. And so part of the reason why our price is at nearly $150 is the actual Raspberry Pi and the sensor itself is almost $50 to $75 of that cost. So if we're able to produce in bulk and go in and make our own circuit board that can do the same functions, but is specialized for us and doesn't have to use something so broad like a Raspberry Pi that has probably far too much computing power than we actually need, we could probably get that price down for the electronics to almost 20, and then be able to sell for maybe under 100.
Not to mention the price will go. Sorry.
No, I just said, yeah, sorry.
What's the name of the young man that has the device in your hand? What's your name?
I'm Prito.
You might have just saved your team by bringing out the prototype, because I don't think you guys mentioned that you had a physical prototype at any point in your presentation. So just a point of reference that maybe mentioned that earlier, but I think you just saved your team. So just say.
I do have a question about the TENS unit. So do you?
This is going to be the last question. We're well over time here, but I've been very curious myself. So finish your question. We'll wrap up. We have time.
Do you see how are you going to be able to wear the TENS unit with the brace? That's going to be kind of cumbersome, don't you think?
Yeah, I've actually worn it myself, like even just yesterday before, like to try it out. And I was be able to play basketball in shorts and socks and normal shoes. And I could jump, run, and almost do everything perfectly normal. And the main problem, honestly, right now is actually the battery pack, which you have to like push down onto the side of the shoe. So in terms of comfortability, it's actually way more comfortable than it looks and what you'd ever seen, because most of the technology is on the outer side. So you only feel the part that's attached to your skin and maybe a little bit of extra weight.
Good stuff.
All right, NeuroShred, thank you very much. Very, very nice product that you have there. We will now move on to our last pitch. So let me jump back to slide deck one more time. And we have our seventh and final pitch, Stress Less, again from South Fayette High School. Stress Less allows students to express their emotions by providing a visual aid to display their stress levels.
Hi everyone, I'm Yusuf Saeed. I'm Reagan McLaughlin, and we have another partner of Charles Costco, Cami Feltz, Anna Hertzler, and we are team
Stress Less. Now imagine you're in school and you're having a rough day. School's not going the way you plan. You might have some at-home problems, and you want to de-elevate the stress. You want to get rid of it. So a school solution is the chill room. Now, the chill room is a place where students can go to express themselves privately. It is dim, it is calm, and it is very quiet, which helps lower the stress.
Now, when you enter the chill room, you're meted with a really nice face, Miss Ratura. Miss Ratura is a behavioral health school educator and is the face of the AHN Chill Project at South Fayette. She has been an educator for about 7 years in her career. Now, when we talked to her, we asked what was missing in the chill room, and she said, I really wanted to make students feel more engaged and have more sentimental value of what their experience in the chill room was like. She wanted to show them a before and after and show them how they improved in their session. Now, the positives of the chill room is that the chill room reduces chronic absence, dropping out rates, and feelings of hopelessness, while also increasing resources for students, well-being for parents and caregivers, and for staff.
All right, so the current process of the chill room is whenever you feel stressed, you go and visit. You work through your problems with your teacher, and then you can go back to class, or if it's the end of the day, you can even go home. There's one drastic thing missing though, and in our process, we fix that. We allow you to rank your initial stress on the stressometer, and then whenever you leave, rank it again. This would provide a visual aid so students can know and see their emotional growth, because students that suffer from panic attacks or other anxiety disorders really don't see their self-worth, and they don't see any beginning of like healing whenever they exit the chill room sometimes. So our solution to this was the stressometer design. Here's how we made it in a 3D model, but we ended up making a real life copy as well. We used laser engraved wood to create the base, and then a laser engraved top as well made it from acrylic using a special design that Mrs. Ratura picked herself. So the inner workings are the Arduino. It is made out of 5 LEDs with wires and Arduinos that will all be hidden in the bottom of the base, sitting on the table. So a student will walk into the chill room, realize they're stressed, and they'll rank it. So if I'm feeling a 5 on the stressometer, then I will click 5, and this is what the students will see. So then, as this lights up, they would leave, walk away, go with the teacher, and work through their problems. At the end of the day, they would come back, click the button, and see the stress decrease.
Now, we didn't really see the value of how our product would impact the chill room until we started looking at our competitors. When we look at our 2 main competitors, we have the iPad and Google Forms, and the iPad uses any other service. Now, when you look at a handheld physical device, only our product and the iPad really have that. And when you look at the emotional improvement, none of the 2 products except ours really show the before and after. When you look at engaging visuals, only the Google Forms and ours would show that visual.
So our future goals would be connectivity, personalization, and globalization. For connectivity, we would like to create a software that would allow to take all this data anonymously and send it around the world so it could be used for studies, research, and helping improving life for students. For personalization, we would like to use a laser engraver like what we did here. We're creating a rose to make them blend into every chill room or doctor's office or nurse office. For globalization, we'd like to spread around the world. For example, we don't want to just branch to the South Fayette chill room. One day we want to be in every chill room across the world. Then maybe out of the chill rooms, we want to be in a child therapy office or doctor office, wherever we can make a difference.
Now, our product makes the world a better place since educators and counselors can really see the positive impact they're leaving on their students while adding that sentimental value to the chill room experience. Now, when you look at our cost breakdown, it takes $16.50 to make this product. What costs the most in our product is just the technology with the Arduinos. We would market this for $99.99, which is a total markup of $600.
By funding our work, you will support high school students by providing a visual aid to recognize their stress and help them stress less. So please, take a deep breath and let stress less take care of the rest. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Stress Less. We'll turn it over to the judges one last time.
I have a question that came to mind immediately how is your solution saving the data from when a student enters the chill room and then when they exit the chill room? How's that saving the data so student A can see the growth?
So right now we are just having the teacher, Mrs. Ratura, like manually put in the data of what their stress level is. But in the future, we plan to have a software so that whenever you press whatever stress level you have, it goes directly to a Google form so that she can see the data, so that she doesn't have to manually put it in anymore. But right now she's manually putting it in. However, if there is one student that has a solo session in the chill room, then they can rank their stress and then their data can continue to be displayed during their session. And then they can rank their final stress event.
Did you actually test this in your chill room? And what was the response from the users, but also did it give the kind of feedback that you were hoping it provided?
So we actually haven't tested the project yet.
One of the reasons we weren't able to is because the chill room is very new at Safet, and there's a lot of like red tape of working through like who's in the chill room with the teacher. Like one of the issues we really had was trying to work with our community partner because she was always busy. Like during this period alone, we would walk in and she would have 4 students. And if you're not actually like using the chill room for its intended purposes of like working through, you're not really supposed to be in there because other students could feel like upset or like feel like they're being judged.
But when we did show her the actual prototype and what the prototype would actually be doing, she actually saw the sentimental value and the difference it made to actually have a visual representation. About 65% of people in the world are visual learners, and they don't really value what they're learning unless they see this visual representation. And just having that visual added a huge impact on what she thought would do to the children.
Maybe I missed it, but what was your projected cost per unit?
So it takes about $16.50 to manufacture the actual unit, but then we would market it for about $99.99.
So I have a, well, go ahead, sorry.
One of the reasons that we're marking it up so high is because schools can't afford to spend that much money because they have so much funding. Whereas if we were selling it to like a normal consumer, like a normal citizen, then we wouldn't market it as high because it's coming out of their pockets, but schools have the ability to purchase it for higher.
So Maria and I are laughing because we always hear from schools that they're broke and they don't have any money. So that's why we're laughing. So.
Yes,
I would. Sorry. Chill rooms are actually sponsored through the government. So Safayette didn't actually pay for our chill room. They come through government funding. So our idea was to market up high, and then that way we can make a quick like income, so we can put money back into the product and like really improve like lives for other people.
I have a question. Do you think as you continue to develop your product, would you stay with this design or would you go back to the drawing board?
I believe for the most part, we could stay with this design, but once you start working with more chill rooms, they may operate differently. So it would really be up to the consumer or the group of students that we're dealing with.
And also in the future, we plan on branching out to like doctor's offices and therapy. So we would like vary the design to like fit their style.
So I'm not entirely sure how many schools have chill rooms, and one of the most interesting parts of the presentation I thought was the information about the chill room and the benefits of that. As you guys go forward and look to continually develop and push this product out there, is there going to be opportunities to talk about the benefits of having a chill room in a business or a school or other spaces like that? And could you guys talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, there's many benefits to having it. Especially in high school, many students feel the pressure of like always needing to perform time and time again, like on school and sports, at home, like everything. So whenever they go to the chill room, like if you're distracted and you're too busy like worrying about something that happened last night, then you're not going to make any progress. And the more you worry, the more it's going to make you upset. So one thing like we really talked to her about is that she feels whenever students come in and they leave, like they actually have productivity after they leave. So like we would discuss that.
So a follow-up to Nate's question, if the school doesn't have a chill room, is there an application for this resource in classrooms, in daily life, at home? Is there other applications for it? Is it only applicable into a space like a chill room?
Yeah, for sure. I think that we could definitely implement it in counseling offices, because if the school doesn't have a chill room, there's also a space where a student can go and vent to a teacher about stress, and then the counselor can also like rank it. And then you could also maybe, I was gonna say you could get one for home, but the cost is pretty high, so we would probably have to redo some things with that. But I would say definitely in a counseling office.
the whole main purpose of having it in the chill room is just because while you're in the chill room, you're working with an educator that is helping de-elevate the stress. So when you have this kind of product in the chill room, it helps see a more quick kind of result in how your stress was a before and after. So like at homes, it would kind of not be extremely beneficial if you were just to have it laying around and not do any stress de-elevating exercises. But to answer your question, since it's a really small and portable object, it could be transferred or portable in anywhere pretty much, as long as you're just using it for the right purposes and comparing stress levels.
And Matt's here to tell us we're over time because I think we have fun.
A little bit, but yeah, I think we're still good. So
Thank
Team
you.
Stressless, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
So with that said, that wraps up our pitches. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one additional time here. First of all, congratulations to all our brilliant student teams and amazing support networks, teachers, mentors, family. We saw some family attendees in the chat as we went on this morning. Our panelists will now head off to their breakout room, hint, hint, where they'll have time to deliberate and decide on our 3 awards today. However, the rest of us are going to stay now for an incredible treat with our keynote speaker, followed by some highlights of this year from each of our teams. So teams, do not go anywhere. I personally will have a few questions for you later on. Our keynote, his name is Dr. Rory Cooper, a professor at the University of Pittsburgh. Dr. Cooper is the founder and director of the Human Engineering Research Laboratories, otherwise known as HURL. As a U.S. Army veteran, Dr. Cooper has been designing assistive technology since a spinal cord injury during his military service that left him partially paralyzed. So, students and staff members, please welcome Dr. Rory Cooper. Lee will facilitate this fireside chat. So Lee and Dr. Cooper, the floor is now yours.
Great. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to join you. And I enjoyed listening to some of your student presentations.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Cooper. We're excited to have you here with us today. Like Matt mentioned, it's a real treat. While I have some questions for you, Dr. Cooper, students, I invite you to note anything maybe that comes to mind as he shares with us today. Dr. Cooper is a well-known inventor himself. And if you all have questions that pop up in your mind, I will give a couple of minutes at the end for you to ask those additionally. So Dr. Cooper, I'd love to start off by just asking you to share a bit about your background, establishing some more context for the students around who you are as an inventor yourself, an educator, and a researcher, and an engineer. So there's a lot. So maybe just establishing some context for our students.
Yeah, sure. So I am I have a degree in electrical engineering and biomedical engineering. I also, I started inventing, actually, I really started inventing probably in middle school, making things for myself and my friends. And then I was lucky my parents had an automotive machine shop, so I had access to technology, and my parents and my grandparents, my grandfathers were both mechanics. We're all mechanics, so had a lot of exposure to tools and had resources to equipment to make things, and that was extremely helpful. After my injury, wheelchairs, I found a lot of the technology. Wheelchairs were really heavy and bad. It was difficult to drive a car. So I started, and I was a runner in actually middle school, high school, and in the Army, and I wanted to do that again. So I got started doing wheelchair racing, and so the people raced in their everyday chairs, and I thought that's crazy. We can, started working on things to make them go faster, and eventually led to the racing chairs we have today, and helped some of the athletes on our team in Tokyo even. So it just sort of started out like a lot of inventors. It's sort of the cliche necessity is the mother of invention. One piece of advice I give all of you that is really start by something that is close to you. Either you would use, or you would need, or friends would need, or a family member. If you're working on something for your grandparents or parents or brother or sister or cousins, friend in school. That's why I like the chill room was kind of really cool that they, because that's something in their school, they saw a need, they worked with a teacher. That's important as well. So, yeah, I just got started because I needed to, and as I got advanced in engineering, I was lucky. It sounds like some of the students in this program are lucky too, that we have teachers that supported my desire to invent and create new things, and they were, they're willing to tolerate bouncing ideas off of them, and using the labs when they weren't in use for teaching. So, and I was fortunate that afterwards I started with a small group of my own 2 students, and we kept working, and now we operate one of the largest labs in the world right here in Pittsburgh. You are welcome to come and visit. We will have an open house at the end of July. We've got, I think the mission is, highly desirable. So we have students, and investigators and staff that are really dedicated to making a difference in the lives of people with disabilities and older adults in our veterans population.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that invitation to come to the lab. That sounds like a really neat opportunity to see what you all are doing in person. I'd love for you to share, Dr. Cooper, about some of your work right now, some of the inventions that you're working on, and maybe highlighting some of the things that students might find particularly interesting within their own life, that they might see examples of around them at their school, are out at activities. Like I know there's some work you've been doing with wheelchairs around water parks and things like that too. So I'd love for you to share some of your current work.
Yeah, that's thanks. So one of the things I'm really excited about right now is we are been doing more work related to kirigami engineering, which is basically cutting and folding metal. So origami, most of you are familiar with. Origami is where you fold paper. It's a Japanese, ancient Japanese art. Kirigami is also an ancient Japanese art, but it's where you actually cut and fold paper. But now there's a form of kirigami engineering, really started in the automotive and the aerospace industry, where you could basically reduce the number of materials that you would need to manufacture products, and therefore lower cost by cutting and folding primarily metals, but also you can do it plastics and composite materials as well. So we've been applying that to building wheelchairs that are actually customizable, but cheaper and more durable, and also more reliable or less waste during manufacturing. So that's kind of exciting. And the cool thing about that is, you have to get used to it because most wheelchairs are designed with cutting and bending and welding tubes. So people are sort of used to that rounding shape. I guess one way to explain it is if you go and look at images of an airplane, you see a lot of, airplanes traditionally were sort of round tubes with rounded wings. But as the more advanced planes, especially like the fighters and bombers, but even some of the more commercial airlines, they're a lot more angular because they're starting to use that as well, kirigami. And we're gonna have to get people used to the fact that some of these wheelchairs we're designing will be more angular, but they'll be lighter, stronger, more customizable, and probably cheaper. So I'm excited about that. We actually, in a couple of weeks, we're going to get a site visit, which basically means a review for our project to expand the water park chair. and actually even maybe bring it to Pittsburgh, and so you might see the community here with some of our groups like Easter Seals and Three Rivers Adaptive Sports and Paralyzed Veterans of America coming out to Sandcastle and to in some of the splash parks we have in the city. That's a that project's been going on for a while. One of the, we're really excited that we were able to work with Morgan's Inspiration Island, which is the first fully accessible water park down in San Antonio, Texas. But always a little disappointed that we don't have as much of them in Pittsburgh as we'd like, or our Western Pennsylvania region. So it looks like we're now going to be able the opportunity to do that here. And what's nice is that opens up water parks, splash pads, wave pools, beaches, and even boating areas, getting down to the water ski ramp, for example, or fishing. We've been talking recently to Healing Waters as well. And so that's really fun because it just opens up more opportunities for people as well. And we're sort of doing some work in that area. I've got another one of our most recent inventions in my hand. So they don't all have to be complicated or expensive. They call the On the Move pad. It grows pretty sticky, but it's basically just a pad that you can, when you put foam in this pocket, that you can wrap around a person's armrest or their supports for their chair, or even around the toilet seat. So it's added more padding. There was an invention that my wife and I worked on. My wife is a physical therapist, and we just licensed it to a company out of Florida who will be manufacturing them. And as a matter of fact, we did test samples with over 500 people. And one problem is that we had to really work hard to find a manufacturer because we've got these people addicted to them. So we need to get somebody else to make them. But it doesn't have to be that complicated. There's basically some neoprene and nylon and a little bit of foam. And but it gets rid of, so if you go out next time you go out in the community, look around, you see people, they might have like a pot holder or a washcloth or a towel sort of wrapped around parts of their wheelchair. That's basically this is to replace that. That was my point, is that things don't have to be complicated. I was looking around at my desk. One of my other inventions that I'm really happy with is we invented a computer mouse that individuals who have lost their upper extremities and use a prosthetic hook can use a computer mouse. So we replaced an $8,000 head tracking system with a $25 computer mouse, and pretty much have given them to every veteran who's lost an arm in the military.
That's amazing, Dr. Cooper.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing an image of one of your inventions too. I've heard you talk a lot about inventing around adaptable technologies and solutions. What originally led you to be passionate about creating solutions that are adaptable for wheelchair users?
My own need, right? I mean, when I got out of the hospital, I weighed like 100 pounds and I got an 80-pound wheelchair. And I was like, how do I get this in the car? How am I going to get up these hills around here? And there's got to be a better way. And so I was lucky. A neighbor and a friend of mine from high school was building a home-built aircraft around the corner. And so I would go over there and look at what he was doing, and we kind of learned together a little bit about foam and composites and some of the materials, some of the metals. This is old school, but he gave me a catalog where you could buy aircraft components and aircraft parts. You can now obviously do it all online, but thought, we could use this materials and these technologies to build better wheelchairs, and started from there. And then I realized that then friends started saying, well, how do I get one of those? Can you build one for me? And my wife likes to kid me that one of the reasons I was successful in wheelchair racing is because I could technology, what she calls techno doping, that I was a better engineer than an athlete, but so I could always come up with advances in the technology, and then other people would take a while to copy me. So I could, as long as I stayed one step ahead of them on technological advances, I could have a competitive advantage. Yeah, and so it kind of evolved from there to expanding my network and getting involved with different advocacy organizations and veterans organizations, and realizing that there's a greater need. And now what we do is a lot of surveys and interviews and focus groups to both family members, end users, and clinicians to find out what are the unmet needs and try to work on them. From sort of a business perspective, we use what I call the area under the impact curve to identify what projects we're going to prioritize. And so that means as we look at the number of people that will benefit and the amount of impact we'll have on those people. So it could have a huge impact on a small number of people, and the area under the impact curve is large, or a modest impact over a larger number of people, in the area under that curve is large. And those are the projects that we tend to prioritize.
That's a really neat way to prioritize projects. I think that's a good thought for our students too, of actually using data to help us understand the impact of what we're creating. I've also heard you reference a lot of user feedback and how you gather it, which I think is amazing, because as you've heard, our students, you got a bit of this earlier, especially around the chill room. Gathering feedback from community partners is something that's a big part of Project Invent's program. So students will interview their end user, build a relationship with them. I want to know, as you've gathered feedback throughout your variety of different inventions, whether that's at water parks or in interviews or group studies, what have you learned that you could share with students around what are the best ways to gather feedback from users, and how can students do that in a way where they can really understand the need and how to build something that's very responsive to it?
So that's a great question. But we use a process called participatory action design in engineering. And so one thing that's really important is a lot of the people on our teams are themselves people with disabilities who are also engineers or clinicians or educators. And so they use the technology themselves. They're sort of embedded in those communities, and they're part of our team. But the old point of project design in engineering is that you identify the need. It could be a population-based need or an individual need, like I said, back to the impact area under the impact curve. But then we engage people throughout the process. So we do storyboarding. So, you like basically like graphic novels or making a movie. We share that with people, make sure, are we understanding each other? And then we do models. One of the things, if this were live, in person, I would, ask this to the audience, but the question, the most common material we use is cardboard. So, we make mock-ups out of cardboard, and then we use then we usually go from there to 3D printing or some, so people could take a look at it, visualize it. Then we try to do a functional prototype. We get people's feedback on that. Usually, in lab, or we might go to their home for a brief time, and then after that we would go to making what we call a pre-production prototype, and then we would do a larger scale study with that pre-production prototype. It's also useful to have what we call expert users, so people who have some are early adopters, have some technical savvy, and are going to be honest and critical with you, and have them on the team as well to make sure you're kind of on the right track or stay on the right track. Look, I think I'm sure all the students have experienced this through this process. You're going to fail, and you just have to learn from your mistakes. Everybody learns a lot more from their failures than they do from their successes. And this is, the famous Thomas Edison quote, well, how does it feel that you failed 1,000 times before creating a light bulb? And he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I learned 1,000 ways not to build a good light bulb, right? And hopefully you don't have to go through 1,000 iterations before you find the right one. We try to be a little bit more scientific than Edison might have been in his time, and we have better tools than Edison had in his time because we can do simulations and modeling and rapid prototyping before we go on to build things, so we can get there often a little bit faster we do a lot of design iterations and prototypes in what people sometimes call in silico. In other words, on the computer for simulations. One of our favorite software, we use MATLAB and its partner Simulink, and we also use SolidWorks quite a bit. And SolidWorks, both their mechanical package and electronics package, and those really help to go through several design iterations, and they can create such realistic looking prototypes that it helps get consumer feedback. Although you still have to build a usable prototype. The other thing that's really important in our lab is that we have amazing engineers and fabricators and great technology resources that we can make well, I can give you an idea. So this is the prototype we made in our lab of this simple device, right? I showed you. And this is the commercial version. That's just one example, but it's not that far, it's not that different. And the idea there, if you have all the documentation, you have all the data, it really does make transfer the product to the market much, much easier. We also have an FDA test lab. So we this is where a lot of our students get an experience they wouldn't normally get. We have a destructive test lab that can destroy things without getting in trouble. And so that's also good too, because I would rather see it fail here than fail when somebody's using it.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Cooper, we're almost at time. And what I do want to do is give the students or the teachers an opportunity to ask just a few questions. We'll probably wrap in the next 3 minutes. But I know some of them have been thinking about questions they might want to ask. I want to make sure we provide that opportunity. Students or teachers, do you have any questions for Dr. Cooper? If you do, you are more than welcome to go ahead and come off mute. We don't have to raise Zoom hands or use the chat. I think I see South Fayette's hand up in the back.
He's on his way up.
Oh, cool. Perfect. I'll add your spotlight in.
There we go.
So you mentioned an open house in July. When is that?
That's the open houses where you, the public, can come and see what we do. Get some demonstrations, walk through, see some of our testing facilities, our fabrication facilities, our destructive test labs.
What's the organization for that?
We are part of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and the University of Pittsburgh. Right. And you can actually, what I can do is I can just put our website in the chat. I guess it'll go to Lee, but and you're welcome to share this, Lee.
Perfect. I'll share it out.
Thank you.
That will go out to, the open house will be posted on our website.
Amazing.
And we're in Bakery Square, which is between Shady Side and Penn Hills in Pittsburgh itself.
We'd love to take one more question from the students, if you have one, or teachers. Maybe it's a question about a
project with students. We did a great project this year, developing a board game to teach transportation barriers for people with disabilities with the Ellis School here in Pittsburgh.
Awesome.
I have a question, Dr. Cooper.
Sure.
For students interested in pursuing this kind of work post high school, what should they study, or what are some things that you think would be courses that they should have leaving high school before they go into college?
Well, courses they should have if you take your engineering technology courses, you need math skills, then also if you have an invention course, if you look, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has a nice curriculum for like a mini course or inventing course. Those are helpful. Study pathways in college. So to be honest, almost all inventors, if you do the Patent Office, Department of Commerce, several not-for-profit organizations done surveys, scientists, is study one of the STEM fields, although STEM with 2 M's, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or medicine. Not being medicine itself because that's a graduate program, but like if I were give my advice locally, is think about studying biomedical engineering. We've got excellent program at the University of Pittsburgh. There are also good programs at Carnegie Mellon University and Duquesne University, and or study study one of the classical engineering fields like electrical, mechanical, civil engineering as well. And then you could or study rehabilitation science. The University of Pittsburgh has an excellent BS program, Bachelor of Science program in rehabilitation science, and take more of learn more about the person side, the human side of the inventing, and then you can kind of work on the technical side, either in graduate school or through your elective courses. So there's, amazing. I know a lot of you are in Pittsburgh, and those students are here in the Western Pennsylvania region, and this is a very it's an excellent environment to be an innovator. There's a lot of opportunities here in the medical space, in the rehabilitation space, and in the robotics space, and also in the computing space. And I think we're as productive in as areas like Boston or Silicon Valley, in those areas. Not quite as well known, lot lower cost of living, lot lower cost of education, and a lot more accessible. You can literally come and see us, or you can literally come and work with us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Cooper, for joining us. I know our teachers here are very passionate about Pittsburgh, and it's a true honor to get to give it a shout out and then have such local representation and talent here today amongst our judges and you yourself. So want to thank you for joining us. Now we're going to turn it back on over to Matt Strine, who are our MC, who will help facilitate a reflection from our students.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cooper. Thank you, Lee. Fun fact about me is that I once, probably about 10 years ago now, had a group of high school students researching Hurl, and they were presenting their findings on what was known as the queuing kitchen. So it seems like a lifetime ago, but actually have been down to the Bakery Square location. It's a very, very neat space. So again, thank you for your wonderful talk, an opportunity for our students to learn about themselves and challenge ourselves. So with that, I'd like to turn it back over to our student teams to share just a quick, answer to a question about their journey with Project Invent this year. So we'll just ask one question, and then we'll just go in the same order if that works. The question is going to be, again, I think based on that Thomas Edison quote, I think this one's fitting. What helped you remain resilient, or what motivated you when you experienced challenges? Okay, so this is meant to be brief and informal, but if the teams can come up in the same order, we will start with Maytik.
Hi, so we're Team Maytik.
So a big part of us staying resilient was actually our community partner. Each time we met with the girls, they were so excited and enthusiastic about getting to wear makeup for the first time and getting to experience that. And their happiness and excitement that pushed us forward to continue making the product and making it better for them.
There were a lot of times when we were stuck in our process, especially the technical aspect, but then we kept thinking about how this truly affects our community partners, and for them, it's like a life-changing thing almost. So that really pushed us and helped us continue and build our prototype.
Natick, thank you very much. Again, the question, what helped you remain resilient, or what motivated you when you experienced challenges? Team One Last Hope.
So how we stay motivated was our end goal is to prevent suicide. And if we know that we can at least prevent one, then we've done our job. And whenever things got hard, we just realized that what we're doing is life-changing work, and it can affect so many people in so many positive ways that it just motivates us to do better and get our work out there.
All right, thank you so much, Team One Last Hope. Again, the question for Team Elevation X, what helped you remain resilient, or what motivated you when you experienced challenges this year?
What motivated us really was to work with our group member and just kind of like make something that actually like works with them and just kind of like ease their life and like make it easier to do things that they like missed out on. Kind of staying resilient is we had like 3 or 4 prototypes that didn't really work, and so we had to keep changing prototypes. And I think staying resilient and just kind of like knowing that this is for a good cause and for like helping it, like people that we actually like care about is a good thing to like strive for.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Team Elevation X. I think that brings us to Team Sucra while you're transitioning up front. Again, what helped you remain resilient, or what motivated you when you experienced challenges this year?
What helped us that remained resilient and motivated throughout our entire progress was helping our loved ones. Mainly to me, since it's a personal story, I'm helping my mother throughout her life and her struggles.
Yeah, and there were a lot of times when we didn't exactly know where to go with the biomedical side of things, but we were able to get our morale up by talking to Meet's mom and talking about what she goes through on a daily basis and trying to find ways to alleviate this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that brings us to Team Time Watchers. Again, what motivated you when you experienced challenges, and what helped you remain resilient this year?
I would say that helping the women be more motivated and helping them like get more job outlets motivated us so that we could help them. And like whenever we face challenges, we turned to her and asked our community partner like what would help them the most.
All right, great. Thank you so much. We have 2 last groups here. So Neurostride, if you can come back up and answer the question, what helped you remain resilient, or what motivated you when you experienced challenges this year?
I think the driving factor that allowed us to go ahead and design this product, like, keeping in mind that we're designing this for a certain someone, Mrs. Vedder, and like her trouble with drop foot. So I feel like keeping this in mind, that helps us, go ahead and design this product. Even though we're not designing this just to win, we're designing this to actually help and make a difference in the world. So I feel like that's what really allows us to, push on, throughout the difficulties in the design process to keep, going.
Yeah, and when you're designing for someone who's so strong herself, it kind of motivates you to be the same way and approach life with that same dedication and that same perseverance no matter what happens, to just keep going to do your best.
Awesome. Great work once again, Neurostride. And that leaves us with Team Stressless. Again, what helped you remain resilient, or what motivated you when you experienced challenges this year?
what really helped us was getting to know our community partners. Like everyone in the school, I'm sure, has a friend that experiences like anxiety or even panic attacks or other stuff. So just knowing that like doing like that little extra bit of work will just help them. Also the fact that like this is all like our work and our names are on it. So like we want to like show that we like care and put our best foot forward.
With the resilience portion, we had a lot of ups and downs, but one bad chapter doesn't mean the story's over. And this helped push us to keep working on it, keep trying to improve as much as we could with the deadline we had, and just thinking about how we could de-elevate stress within our school and potentially within the nation and maybe even the world with doctor offices and child therapy sessions. It was really motivational to keep pushing through and working on our project.
All right, thank you all so much. So it looks like our panelists are back. We're going to check on their decisions here in a second. So let's talk a little bit about the awards. There are 3 awards again that were mentioned today. Hopefully these aren't new to you. These are the mindsets that really set project invent curriculum apart from anyone else out there doing design thinking. We have ambition, so set your goals really high, and it sounds like a lot of the groups did that today. Agency, meaning this is actually something you as a high school student can take on. Creative confidence, taking an innovative approach. Empathy, we've heard a lot about empathy today, where you're really listening to your community partners. Resilience, obviously every group just spoke regarding that, and certainly a lot of curiosity to figure out how things work. So the first award that we're going to give out here in a second is to a team that really listened to their community partner. The next award will be the Product Pivot Award, which is presented to a team that had to overcome many obstacles. And then last but not least, the Moonshot Award will be given to a team who identified and created a notably creative product. So one last bit of information here. Sorry, I'm seeing something showed up in the chat. Nope, it looks like all is good. Just once again, student teams, what you've done today in your many months of hard work and innovation leading up to today is incredible. I know personally, this is my second year participating in the Project Invent program, and I continue to be amazed by high school students, not just my own students, but all of you that presented today. You built something that few people ever will. You built something designed to help real people in the real world, and you've done it again as a high school student. You've learned the skills to become the fearless problem solvers of tomorrow. So if you receive an award today, that's obviously very exciting. But if you don't receive an award, this is far from the end of your journey. So with that in mind, let's welcome back our panelists. And then panelists, I'm going to turn it over to you to present our 3 awards. So Lee, if you could just cue me, you want me to stop sharing here?
Yep, you can go ahead and stop sharing and we will have, thank you so much.
Well, let me just start off by saying that as the 3 of us judges, we had obviously a lot of deliberations and conversations and discussions about all of your presentations, but I will say that we were very impressed by all the students today. We're very inspired by the work that you're doing. Being that all 3 of us work with manufacturers and work in the development of products, of course, this is something that's near and dear to our hearts. There are 2,700 manufacturers, by the way, in southwestern Pennsylvania, and they're all hiring right now. So you're on a great pathway if you take and apply these skills to your career journeys. And again, we're excited to hear that you've all learned a lot through the process as well. And that, I think this is something you'll carry with you going forward. Nate did have to step off to run to another meeting. So that's why he's not joining us. But Maria and I are going to announce the winners, and we've split those up. So with that, I'll turn it back to Maria. But again, thank you to all the students. Great work. Fantastic job. And thanks for making our job hard.
Yes, it was we needed pretty much every minute of that deliberation time. So great job to all the teams. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to all of the solutions that you came up with. So we're going to start with the Need Finder Award. this team collaborated with 2 community partners and really listened to them and obtained a large quantity of user feedback for their project and utilized the feedback for their design. And the award goes to South Fayette Maytech. Scott will present the Product Pivot Award.
So the team that has won the Product Pivot Award looked at market research on competitive products. They identified flaws and challenges in their design of their prototype and appears to be making significant pivots as a result of that. They effectively answered the questions that we posed to them about their product and also came up with a solution that could provide a high quality of life to the individuals that they were identifying their needs with. So this was a tough one between these two to decide which category they should fall into, because there's a lot of overlap here, but they were really great at describing the process and solution effectively. So our selection for the Product Pivot Award goes to NeuroStride. Congratulations, guys.
All right, and then we have one last award, the Moonshot Award. Scott?
So, and last but certainly not least, our this award category, we looked at the I think the things that stood out to us, I should say, from the student team was the potential scalability of the project and the solution the students came up with, the challenge they decided to tackle, the potential impact and widespread need for this solution, especially amongst young people today in today's world that we're currently living in. The immediate potential application of what they've came up with for their school, but also the ease of potential implementation of the solution. And then we also thought they potentially had the best presentation of the day, as well as were fantastic in answering the questions posed to them in a very thoughtful and well thought out way. So the team that we're giving the Moonshot Award to is Less Stress. Again, congratulations to all the teams. Wish we had more categories, but we had 3 for you today. So again, thank you for letting us be involved in this process.
Yes, thank you very much. Certainly to all of the teams that won here today. Again, our Need Finder Award went to Team Maytech. The Product Pivot Award went to Team NeuroStride, and certainly deserving, the Moonshot Award went to Team Less Stress. So thank you again to all of our teams. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to Dr. Cooper, who it looks like has moved on from the meeting as well. Lee at Project Invent. I know Jerome was in on our call as well. Thank you all for your endless work and dedication to our students, our audience, our donors, and anyone else who I may have missed that help along the team's journeys this year. We thank you very much. Again, you can continue to donate to Project Invent in the future to enable them to continue their mission of empowering young people to innovate all year round. So once again, thank you everyone so very much for attending today.
Thank you guys. Matt, I'll jump in real fast and just say a huge thank you from Project Invent. This is Demo Day is something we look forward to year round because we get to see the incredible things our students are doing across all teams. It's amazing to see how fearless you are in tackling very significant, challenging problems that people across the world are experiencing. And we just greatly appreciate you for spending your time collaborating together as a team, working alongside your community partner. And then Matt, Lynette, and Jim, specifically here on this call, thank you for supporting your students and for being co-learners with them. You guys do incredible things as educators, and we are just so proud that Project Invent and thankful gets to work with such incredible students and teachers like yourselves. And a huge thank you to our panelists and Dr. Cooper. Project Invent cannot do what we do without the incredible talent that we're able to include in our demo days and our many other volunteer experiences. So just a huge thank you for spending time with us today. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and wrap up our webinar, and I'll be sharing this out so you all can share it with your loved ones. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you.